I was pretty messed up, physically, emotionally, psychologically. I was always gonna wake up, right? They just didn't know how much of me was gonna be there when I did wake up. My great-grandfather was in World War I. My grandfather, World War II, captain in the Korean War. And my dad served 2 tours in Vietnam. So when my friend came to me with the proposal of going to the Guard, I was like, I kind of have to keep this going. When I swore in, it was 3 days before 9/11. So I swear in, a couple days later, towers fall, and I'm like, I don't see very much college in my future. We really didn't know how much the Guard would play a role in deployments overseas, because, the Guard really wasn't used in that capacity. I finished basic training, and my AIT was done, advanced infantry training. My line leader, he was a Ranger. He really pushed me to go to airborne school. The month that I had to choose between going with my unit overseas or going to airborne school, which I'd rather jump out of an airplane than go to Fallujah as a fresh soldier. Out of that month that I was waiting to make up my mind, I was in a car accident. Well, I fractured my neck at my C1, C2. I broke my shoulder in 3 different places. Broke my ribs. One of them went through my liver. Broke my femur. Broke my kneecap. Head injury in the front. Recoil, hit the back. Medically induced coma for 2.5 months. Then I woke up. I had to learn how to walk, talk, dress myself, everything, all over again. While all this is going on, I had someone from my unit come to the hospital and basically tell me that I will be medically discharged. The car accident wasn't my fault, so I was getting an honorable medical discharge. They had put me back together as well as they could. Anything after that would be up to me. I moved back up to Michigan to rehabilitate, and then after that, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was strong enough to get, a job at a gas station, and I was like, I don't want this to be my life. Real depressed, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, drinking. I was drinking too. I just thought, this is my life. It sucks, but these are the cards that I was dealt. My mom kind of saw me circling the drain, and she got on the internet and specifically looked for jobs for veterans. So she put in physically disabled vets, occupations in Lansing, and Peckham was the first on the list. I started out at the call center. I got my clearance the day that they gave out the last full-time position. So I was like, well, what do you do now? And they're like, well, you can go and sew. And I'm like, I don't know how to sew. I could sew a button on my uniform, but that's the extent. They're like, no, they'll teach you. So I went to the greenhouse. I learned how to sew. And I actually met my wife at Peckham. She was quality control on the same line that I was when I was sewing. And she met me when I was sewing, so I know she's not in it for the money. Even though it was a great job, I liked the people that I worked with. I wanted to work in the warehouse. So I got a job unloading the fabric trucks because we make a lot of apparel for the military. And then I found out that there was a federal side, and I put my application in and got a job working as a fork truck driver. I started at the greenhouse and then did a little time at Plant A, and then moved over here to Millet. I work in vendor, where I still use the fork truck, but it's unloading and loading specific trucks with all types of military equipment. I'm working with my supervisor right now to hopefully become a manager myself. That's the next goal. I think it's great that even though I'm not in the military anymore, I still am helping soldiers, so I'm still doing my part, which I think is great. I love the work. I love the people I work with. My supervisors are great. They're very understandable if I need to take time off for any type of doctor's appointment. I have 2 special needs children, so they have a lot of appointments. I think it's important to have companies like Peckham for the sole purpose of veterans coming home that were in a similar situation to me and not knowing where to go, not knowing if they'd ever be employable again. And Peckham shows you that yes, you are employable. You can do your part. And since we work with the military, it's a good transition, because a lot of the things that I run into in my day-to-day work, civilians don't know it. But somebody that's been in the service does. You truly are an asset. I would tell you that, you've probably heard from other people that they only hire dummies and disabled people and shell-shocked vets. If that was true, how could we be a company as big as we are? How could we keep these contracts if we were a bunch of shell-shocked dummies with disabilities? The proof is in the pudding. People are going to think what they want, but if they came in the door and they saw the kind of work we do, I think it would change their mind. There are people with severe disabilities. Peckham gives those people a purpose. I believe that there's always going to be a job for people with any type of disability here at Peckham. Yeah, I recommend Peckham to any vet. I recommend Peckham to pretty much anyone that needs a job and that wants to work for a company that appreciates them. Peckham took me in with open arms. It was great. I found a place that helps people with disabilities. I didn't think there were companies out there like that. If it wasn't for Peckham, I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't be a father. If it wasn't for Peckham, I would be working at a gas station. Or worse.